that one is, oh, I see. I'm putting the sign over here, but I see.
Right.
These ones are- Okay.
And General Manager Stoltz is out ill today.
Okay, so the Finance Administrative Committee will come to order on March the 11th. I am still not sure we're in March already. At 2 p.m. So are there any changes in the agenda format or items?
I did present or have in front of you some modifications to the draft minutes just for clarification. And I pointed them out. They're highlighted and also in red strikeout.
And that would be, okay, so when we get to that point, we'll take this up. That's
Okay.
the new version. And then on the action item, is this a background information?
Good afternoon, Chair. And members of the committee. Yes, there are two changes. We have a modified mid-year budget report, item 4, which a copy of which should be on your desks, and we'll be uploading it after the meeting. And then I have a proposed change on item 6, just changing the title to status report on measure J, rule 19.8, and just striking out phase 2 spending because we're reporting on phase 4 at this point.
Okay. Okay, so those are the changes in the agenda. We'll discuss the items when we get to the items. Okay. Well, let's, are there any members of the public on Zoom?
I will check. No, there are no members of the public.
And Chair Riley, you'll want to do a roll call attendance because we do have Dr. Edwards on.
Good reminder. Okay, so as we call the meeting to order and clarify a few things, let's clarify roll call.
Director Paul? Here. Director Edwards?
Here,
Chair Riley?
Here.
All members are present.
And nice seeing you, Alvin. At a
hey,
distance.
nice to hear you all. Sorry, got a transportation problem.
Okay, well, we'll hear that offline, maybe. Okay, so action items, point number one, item number 1 is the minutes, and we've got some amended minutes here. And the strikeouts are pretty simple. It's just to clarify who was chair and who was in attendance.
Correct.
So that's the only change. So are there any discussion items from the committee?
I move we adopt the corrected minutes.
I'll second that.
All right, it's moved and seconded. Do a roll call, please.
Director Edwards?
Approval?
Director Paul?
Yes.
Chair Riley?
Aye.
Minutes are approved unanimously.
Good. Item number 1. Item number 2, declaration of surplus items. That is a category in our agenda packet.
And I'll address that. So this second item is regarding the declaration of surplus items with the district. This is just part of our annual cleanup exercise. We're disposing of old CPUs, laptops, tablets, most of which are outdated and haven't been used for a number of years. And these were replaced by new laptops during the COVID years. And so district staff has been using the new laptops. These have been sitting like dead weights in the various offices. So one thing that I would like to point out is in prior meetings, we have called these surplus assets. However, we are in the process of developing a new procurement policy, which will define what assets mean. And so assets are generally items that have a purchase price of more than $5,000 or a life of more than 5 years. And so these items are a few $100s. They wouldn't fall in that category. So we are calling it surplus items. And I'll also like to point out that the district takes its e-waste disposal very seriously. So any hard drives will be demagnetized and destroyed securely before the equipment is given to the Monterey Regional Waste Management District.
Good. as a procedural question, you're saying you're going to redefine the asset formula or asset description. And will that doesn't apply to what we're doing here today, because this is,
No, that doesn't apply. That was just a clarification on why we are calling it surplus items versus surplus assets. A policy is in the works that will be brought in front of the board for formal approval.
that was my point. And will the board see the policy change coming forward?
Absolutely, yes, in the coming board meetings, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Any comments from the committee on this item?
Yes, thank you, Chair. That first item that you got up here, the PC People Desk times 14. We replaced 14 computers.
Those are 14 desktop computers that are currently sitting in the garage, yes.
Okay, the thing I gotta say about that, we should have serial numbers on everything that we get, like computers and stuff. And I don't even see any, I know writing down 14 serial number, it could be pretty tough, but when we get them in, that's when it should be done, so we can have them on record.
Yes,
So,
that's a good point. And these are customized desktops, which weren't assigned serial numbers. So they aren't coming from the manufacturer. They were something that were put together in-house. So they don't have a serial number.
Okay. That's all I got. I know that any computers that we get in the future, I hope we're writing down the serial numbers.
Yes, we are noting down serial number. So from items 4 to 6, you'll see that those are newer laptops and tablets, and they have assigned serial numbers to them.
Okay, yes, I see that. I was just worried about that big 14 sitting up there. All right, thank you.
Okay, yes.
Are any of these items recent enough to potentially be used in school or nonprofit?
According to our IT consultant, they were too old. There was one Lenovo laptop that had a more recent configuration, and we repurposed that for in-house needs. But we can take a second look at them.
Well, you know how old they are. If they were, look like they might be new enough to be useful to someone, then maybe we could.
Sure.
Excuse me, Chair, another question on that too. Who's getting rid of this stuff? Is the district staff taking it to e-waste, or is the IT person taking it to e-waste?
It's our IT consultant. I think they bring the machine here, and the hard drives are demagnetized, and then they take it to the e-waste from district premises.
Okay, not accusing anybody of doing anything, but are we following up on that? Make sure that stuff get there,
I believe we get a certificate of disposal once they take it to the e-waste.
Okay, thank you. That's all I got. I move for approval if no public comment.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the declaration of surplus items. And that's the extent of what our motion is for, but the disposal process will be monitored by you. Yes.
Yes, by
Okay.
staff.
Thank you. Okay, I'll call for the question. Roll call, please.
Director Paul,
Yes.
Director Edwards,
Yes.
Chair Riley.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, action item number 3, the treasurer's report for January 2024. Again, I'll call it to Michelle.
Yes, I'll be addressing this item. I'll try to see if I can share my screen. Okay. So the second report is regarding, excuse me, the third report is about the monthly, this is the monthly treasurer's report that includes cash disbursements and a financial statement of revenues and expenditures. And I'll be going over Exhibit A. The district started the month with 26.7 million in cash and investments and ended the month with 25.6 million, as you can see on the screen here. The district received fee deposits of about 571,000 and interest in the range of 122,000. Total cash disbursements were 1.8 million, of which 1.35 million were vendor payments. There was one rebate that was processed that belonged to one of the prior months, and that's what you see here for $500. And I can keep going to Exhibit 2. Exhibit B, excuse me, is a listing of all of our checks for vendors, and then Exhibit C shows our revenues and expenditures as of January 31st, 2024. And in Exhibit C, you'll notice that the district has received revenues of about 15.06 million and had expenditures of about 15.39 million. That equates to approximately 31% of our adopted budget. Questions?
So I have a question about tying this report to the next item on the mid-year adjustment. We have, I know we run with a good solid number in reserves, and that gives us the flexibility to make mid-year adjustments for one, but to also consider project changes. I mean, that force us to consider that. And I'm just trying to see, is there any relationship?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
And if it's okay with you, I can switch over to the next report. And the staff report indicates, let's see which page, or maybe I can bring it on the screen here. If you look at page 2 of the staff report, it shows actual revenue collections as of January 31st, 2024. So here, if you can move that on the side, it shows that number, which is coming from our Exhibit C report, Exhibit C from item 3.
Okay.
So that's revenues and expenditures, I think, is on a subsequent page. Here
Okay,
you
so
see
I
the
don't want to get,
expenditure.
I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah,
I just want to get it, so let's not discuss item 4. I just wanted to
got it.
get the connection.
So to your answer, yes, both are linked. The
Okay.
the numbers tie across the
Okay,
two reports.
Okay, this is apparently a quiz on you.
Good one, George. Chair, I got a.
Just a moment, Alvin.
Okay,
So we did need to draw on reserves. Okay.
Yes, and I'll go through this in more detail on item 4.
Yeah, your mic, Alvin may not be able to hear you, Karen.
yeah, that's right.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll go into that in more detail in item 4. So while balancing the proposed mid-year budget, we plan to draw a portion of our reserves. And I'll go into that if whenever you're ready.
Okay, so let's just deal with item 3 for the moment. There are no more questions. I'd entertain a motion.
No, one question on Exhibit B on page 14 of your packet.
Yes.
All the way down to the bottom. Who is Labor Trust Funding of Northern California?
Oh, that's the vendor that manages our health plans.
They manage what?
Our health plans,
Health,
Oh,
health
okay,
benefits,
health benefits, yes.
yeah, health plan.
okay. All right,
That's-
thank you. That's
that's not
not
new.
I got
Yeah, we pay
concerned.
that every month.
Okay. Thank you. You doing good. That's,
I think we're all testing our new.
Yeah.
treasurer.
Does anyone here know
Bring it on.
he's on top of it.
uh, what club out, when I review these, I look for the larger amounts and see if there's anything that looks surprising and
Yeah.
Claval Company, does anybody here know what that, Clayval?
Yeah, that's, at ASR, there are valves that sustain pressure and reduce pressure. I believe we have Clayval out to do the maintenance on the valves, and I know the guys have done training, but.
And I got one more question.
Thanks, Maureen.
Yes, go ahead, Alvin.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Rutan and Tucker on page 14. I think that's 23,000.
Yeah, that's for the Measure J expense. Measure
Yeah,
J.
that's Measure J. So are we, what work did, maybe I talked to Dave about it, but what work has been done up to 23,000 since October? Have any work or something been done? Are we paying out that kind of money?
That is a Dave question. I don't know if Mr. Loredo here has more insight into, I think it's related to eminent domain.
Right, yeah, so.
Right,
we
right.
touched
It's
base a
eminent
little bit.
domain.
Right, we've touched a little bit on what they've been doing in closed session. I don't have a specific update for you today, but if you'd like, we can prepare for the board a status update on what those costs entail.
Please do. Because if we're not moving or doing anything, I'd like to know why we still paying, or are we catching up or whatever? All right, thank you.
And I regret welcoming you, Michael, to the meeting. As a starting point, didn't call the roll, didn't recognize you.
We're doing great. don't worry.
His name is District Council.
Welcome, everybody here. Okay, did we pass that? I've forgotten where we stand on it. No. Okay,
No,
we need a action motion on, we're still on item 3, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
item 3.
so let's see we actually have to, okay, so I move that we recommend to the board that they adopt this treasurer's report for January.
I'll second it.
Okay, and no members of the public are present or online, so call for the roll call vote, please.
Director Paul,
Yes,
Director Edwards,
Yes,
Chair Riley.
Aye,
Motion passes 3-0.
good. And it got a lot more attention than I thought it might.
I do always
Thank you.
review these, even if I have nothing to say.
Okay, item 4 is the mid-year adjustment. So, Ms.
Yes,
Hall?
Chair. So usually the mid-year budget has gone directly to the board. This year, we decided to bring it to the Finance and Administration Committee first, just so that we can iron out any kinks or incorporate any suggestions that you might have. And so you have an updated report, I believe, and so that's what I have on the screen here, and I'll be going over the highlights. So I'll start off with, at a high level, we have changes to both operating expenditures and project expenditures. Our operating expenditures are listed in Exhibit B, and project expenditures are in Exhibit C.
Okay.
And then Exhibit A is our updated estimated revenues, and Exhibit D is that's our analysis of reserves. So I'm going to start with Exhibit D, our operating expenditures. Staff, and it's here, right here on the screen. Staff is requesting an additional 245,000 in personnel costs, and this is mostly related to retirement payouts of two retirees and one projected retirement. So Mr. Suresh Prasad, Mr. Tom Lindbergh, they have retired, and then there's an associated fisheries biologist who will be retiring. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you. Are these the same as the ones that were provided us a few days ago?
Exhibit A and D are different, and the staff report is also different.
Okay,
And
thank you.
I'll,
Okay,
I'm presenting the latest version on the screen. So 245,000 increase in personal expenses budget and about $59,000 increase in services and supplies. And this is mostly related to increased insurance costs and repair of district vehicles. We also have, we're also requesting an increase of about 28,000 in IT supplies and services. And that's related to disaster service backups. So we have hired a company to back up our IT data. And so that's what that increases here. So in total, staff is proposing an amendment of 304,000 in the operations budget, which is listed in Exhibit B. And then on Exhibit C, I'm just going to hit.
Let me just slow down
yeah.
and just see if there's any kind of reaction to some of these numbers to clarify or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. Are you planning to explain what changed between the earlier version and the?
Yes, so nothing changed on the expenditure side. What changed was the estimated revenues and the reserves to balance the budget.
Okay,
That's what changed.
okay. So you're gonna tell us how?
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm going to go over that
Okay.
when we come to the revenues.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Michelle, just go ahead, proceed.
So if I have your permission, I'll switch over to Exhibit 4C, which is a listing of changes to our project expenditures. And I'll just highlight the big three here. So staff is proposing a reduction of 6.4 million in the project expenditures for pure water Monterey expansion. And a reduction of 1.7 million in the integrated resource water management grant. And this budget is going to be deferred to next fiscal year. And Maureen is here to answer more questions if you have any on those two projects.
Yeah, let's talk about both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. If you could,
So-
yeah, if you could tell us what necessitates the changes, those two changes?
Yeah, it's really just where project execution and forecasting a year in advance miss each other. If for the Pure Water Monterey project, we can't dictate when the contractors get their submittals in, parts order, and when they arrive on site.
Mhm.
So if they arrive on site in June and we don't have it in the budget, that's a big problem. At this point, it looks like they're not going to arrive until next fiscal year, the majority of the purchasing. And again, that's just timing with the contractor. They have to go to their vendors and say, give us all the specifics of what we're ordering. It has to go through the engineering team at the owner. Then they have to put in the orders, and then the orders have to arrive.
Mm.
And that's anybody's.
So it's
guess,
just a
really.
timing issue.
Yeah, just timing. And it's really the same with IRWM. On the implementation round one grant, we only have one more project to go. But in their planning and design process, they ended up finding a lot of undocumented assets underground. So that project's seen really substantial delays. That's a project in Sand City to beautify Catalina Street and capture some of the stormwater so that it doesn't wind up untreated in the bay. The more recent grant that we've received, the implementation round two,
is funding, I think, about $1 million to Carmel River Free. And they're still waiting on those FEMA dollars to get all of their funding complete so that they can break ground. The other project is the Olivier Street Stormwater. And that one has been pretty much on target, but we had to include some funds because we weren't sure how the city was gonna decide when to execute that. And it ends up, they were about 6 months behind what we had assumed would be the fastest time.
Thank you.
Alvin, do you have any questions? I have a couple.
Yeah, my first question is, for that first item, pure water main project expansion, that's 6,064,6.4. Is that for the well that they supposed to be putting in?
4.8 of it is for the well or the well site. And then 11, I believe, can be used anywhere. It could be
Oh.
used at the AWPF or it could be used at the injection well field.
Okay, and that operational reserve, that 1.8,
I'll speak to that.
water?
Yes, so I can speak to that item. Staff is requesting an additional 1.8 million for the district's water reserve. And so this would buy us an additional 500 acre feet. And the reason we are proposing this is because last year, the district put 620 acre feet in our reserves. And this year, our original budget had it at 200 acre feet. So we would rather have the budget and not spend it rather than the other way around. So we're requesting that we have the budget to buy at least 700 acre feet of water this year. And that's what that line item is for. So this line item will buy us 400 acre feet.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I got on that one right now.
Okay, and then I had, the one question I had was the deferral of, well, it's the pure water Monterey expansion. Does that mean trying to connect the payment schedule with the delivery and when the invoice date is, does that mean the project has slowed down any? Has there been change in that schedule at all?
There's
Good
been no
question.
change. There's been no change. It hasn't slowed down. We do the budget almost a year ago, a little under, and they ended up having to rebid it, the injection well field portion in particular. So it just took longer to get off the ground than one would imagine. A year, oh, we'll bid it, we'll go out. It'll take them 3 months to do the submittals, and parts might arrive in June.
But it had to be redone, I recall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got a lower bid price as a result.
We did.
Yeah.
Well, they
Good,
did,
good to
yeah.
remember that.
Good.
Okay, that answered my question. The IRWM, that's just grant money and grant projects, and that cycle is different too. But I was really concerned about the expansion.
No,
The detail.
they're clearing away, you drive up Cove Avenue to Horn Heights.
And I
Oh,
am
good.
glad to hear that we're going to be increasing the operating reserve, a more comfortable margin.
Yes.
Seems like a good idea. No?
So that's the expenditure side, and I can switch over to revenues at this point, which is Exhibit A. Staff is.
Which was handed out also. Slightly different number.
Yes.
But
Exhibit
I don't,
A is
Alvin, should we
adopted.
explain that to Alvin? If he hasn't seen the handout, right,
Oh.
the new one? He did
Yeah, I
get
got it.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you anyway.
So the major changes on the revenue side are, staff is proposing an increase in permit fees by 1,075,000. This is related to 3 projects that are listed in the staff report. And I think Stephanie is probably the best person to talk about these 3 projects. So permit fees going up, that's change number one, and then the reimbursements for the Water Monterey project, expansion project and the IRWM grant. That reduction, that's the $8.1 million reduction that you see here on the revenue side. And then staff is also projecting an increase in deed restriction recording fees by 60,000. Thanks, staff. So those are the major changes that would bring our the budget, that would actually reduce our net budget by 6.9 million. So any questions on Exhibit A?
Are there any questions from committee members? I don't have any.
I do not.
I do not. Just one question. Is this money that we are about to receive, the 6.9? I noticed through those 3 projects that we were getting money for water in.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Okay. The 6.9, yep, you had 3 projects. That's supposed to, a project from Seaside, a project from, I think, Sand City.
Yes, the permit, so the 1,075,000, those are the 3 projects.
Okay.
In item 1.
All right, and they added it. Okay, that's it's coming up with the 81.
Yeah, the $8.1 million is a negative adjustment. So the 8.1 million is a negative adjustment because of the reimbursable revenues that are coming from the grants.
Okay. All right.
And so the net result of the 3 changes is a negative 6.9 million.
Okay, I got it now. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, and okay, no, if there are no more questions on that item, welcome.
No more.
And then my
Go to
only
the
comment
reserves. Sorry, go to the
is
reserves.
related to the reserves. At this point, staff is requesting about 20, not requesting, suggesting that switching to Exhibit D, if you look at the subtotal there, we are projecting 20.58 million in reserves at the end of this fiscal year. And I can go over the general operating reserve number. For that, I'll have to bring up the staff report. As part of the mid-year adjustments, the original budget proposed putting in 1.08 million into the general reserve balance, and now because of these adjustments, if they pan out, then we won't be putting that 1.089 million, and that's shown in page 2 of our staff report. So what we try to do here is balance the revenues and the expenditures, and if you see on pages this is all on page 2 of the staff report. The total revenues as of mid-year is 41.4 million, and then the total expenditures is also at 41.4 million.
Mm-hmm.
And we have achieved that balancing by drawing down the general reserve balance.
Mm-hmm.
And then utilizing a little bit of our contingency.
So we're drawing down the general operating reserve by a little under 2 million? Is that what we're?
Yes, so looking at Exhibit D, yes, so the net drawdown on the general reserve would be around 1.9 million.
Okay.
And there's a breakdown just below that on the
Yes.
bottom portion.
Yeah. Well, as George said in the beginning of this discussion, this is one reason we have reserves to manage change. Yeah.
I have a question, but it's kind of, I don't know what, if this is at 10,000 acre feet, I mean, 10,000 foot look. So some words just link in automatically.
I hear you.
I'd like to go to 30,000 feet just for a quick, and it's an issue I've raised a couple times in the past, and I don't pursue it religiously, but I have a question about if the budgeting process could separate in some fashion grant monies from the
Mhm.
operational monies.
Mhm.
Because it seems to me the grant money, mainly when it comes in, when we use it, delays happen. And so big chunks of money, big numbers are used when you add in or delay or whatever. And it changes the total in the reserve account substantially.
Yep.
And it's hard for me to sort out what's operational in as far as reserves are concerned and what's grant related, because we get sizable grants. And so you got sizable chunks of money changing the reserve picture, and I have a hard time being comfortable, I should say, with what's operational reserves, which is where I think we ought to be far more focused on just
Yeah.
whatever our management discussions are, versus the grant side, because the grant has its own time frame and financing and cash flows. Unrelated, it doesn't say it's unrelated to staff. I'm not saying that. But it is unrelated to the budget process that I think we should be able to focus on more specifically. And when it gets clouded in or included in with all the grant monies, it's just hard to sort out the money flow in my mind. And so my ask was from a year or so ago, and now that you're new, I'll ask you to give some thought to how that might break out in some fashion, and maybe it's even a supplemental report of some kind, just to
Right.
kind of break it out so we see the operational piece of the district's work.
Yes.
And again, I'm not trying to sort out staff assignments and all that kind of stuff. That may be included in some fashion, and costs related to that, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
So if I get the request right, you're suggesting that reserves for operations be separated from reserves for capital projects,
I'm not asking for separation.
or have it at least be depicted separately. maybe.
I'm asking, it can it be presented slightly differently so that we can focus on the operational side of the district and not just the cash flows related to grants.
I need to ask a clarifying question.
okay.
This is getting confusing because don't the grant monies go into, they don't go into operating reserves, do they?
No, so when we talk about reserves, we are talking about the treasury side. There's the treasury side where money is flowing in and out. It's it's a pooled account. And then there's the accounting side. And so everything that you see here, Exhibit B is supposed to be operations and Exhibit C is supposed to be projects or capitals. So accounting segregates the two, but on the treasury side in the bank, it's all lumped together.
Mhm.
And so when you look at Exhibit D, it's just, okay, at the end of the year, is money going to leave the bank or is it going to go in the bank? And so there's some correlation with the reserves.
That's where the lumping together is.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And
So
we
if
will
we-
consider Chair Riley's comment. I'll put some. We'll give
And
some
I'm not
context.
necessarily looking for a change in the accounting system. I'm just looking for a change in how you explain it.
Presenting, yep.
And maybe it's just a supplemental, note of some kind.
Maybe it could be just sort of that those numbers, which include, all the, some money from, various sources, it's all lumped together, including the grants, that could just be broken down. The portion that's from grant money maybe could be shown. Would that help?
I don't know. I just
Yeah.
want to ask the question.
Yeah.
I would prefer to have some insider look at how those numbers play out and how it might be presented.
Yeah.
And maybe at a future meeting, we can see a sample of what it might look like or something like that.
Yes.
Clarify, is the amount we're not putting in the general operating reserve, is that more related to the water supply? The 1.9 million in building the pure water Monterey reserve?
Yeah, and so let's say if the question is why do we have a negative adjustment of 1.9 million? A large portion of that is related to the water that we are buying. So if you're buying $1.8 million of water, in the reserve, then a large portion of that reduction here in the reserve is coming for the purchase of that water.
Mhm.
And there is a timing difference between buying the water and processing it through CalAmp, right? I mean, is that what we're talking about? When you say the water reserve?
This is in the Pure Water Monterey Water Purchase Agreements. We buy the water from CalAm, but first thing we have to do is build up an operating reserve. And
Wait,
that's
we
in,
buy from you, Monterey.
oh,
Water.
sorry, Monterey One.
One, yeah.
That would be, but we first have to build up that reserve. So with Pure Water Monterey having excess capacity, Dave chose to buy $1.9 million worth, stick it in the reserve so that when they start up, they can hit those production numbers faster, because with Pure Water Monterey expansion, we need more in reserve than we have in the water reserve for base Pure Water Monterey project.
Mhm.
So Dave was like, they've got the water, let's buy it. And if CalAm said, whoa, we needed it, that would be a conversation that Dave, I'm sure, would have with everybody.
And there's a difference, and there's a different calendaring for the money, the water we buy and the water we sell. Is it, or is that just
Slightly,
instantaneous?
but we may not sell the bit we bought this year
Right,
for, until there's a drought.
right. So
And there is a different timing, although they're pretty quick on,
Okay.
he turns around those invoices like that. They get them, we get the invoice from Monterey One and boom, he's billing CalAmp.
well, maybe I'm a little confused in too. Does the general operating reserve numbers, dollar amounts, reflect the money, I mean, the water in the water in the reserve, the water reserve that we bought ahead of time?
I think, no, so this budget is based on the rate that we have now. It's like 3,973 times 500 acre feet so that's the amount that we will buy and put in the reserve. So the water has been purchased at different rates, and it has been injected at whatever rate it was bought
Right.
for. And when we take it out, I think we would sell it at the rate, that's going to be at that time. That makes sense.
Well, I think I've raised an interesting question, but I'm not sure, if I have, because I'm not sure in my own mind if
There is a
I'm using
timing.
it right.
Yes, the rate at which the water is injected into the ground is different, the rate at which it's sold. And I don't want to get into the complexity of accounting, but like in the investment world, when we purchase an investment, we have to mark it to market. And for our CD accounts, we do that every year. But for the water reserve, I don't believe we have done that. So if you look at how much dollar amount of water is in the ground, then that's based on the rate at which it was bought, which is different across the years.
And would that be considered an asset?
We are considering it as an asset, and it's booked as an asset in our balance sheet. If you look at the ACFR, it's booked as an asset, yes.
Well, we'll see how it all.
And if it does have to be sold at some point, it will be sold at the rate of that moment,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Important.
I think there's a built-in
Okay.
buffer, assuming that the rates go up, because we bought it at a lower rate and we would be selling it at the market rate.
Right. Through the chair, if I may,
Yes,
water supply charge, are we not getting any money for water supply charge this year, 2024?
We are getting the money and are booking it as a reserve. I think so far we have received about 1.5 million. It's in Exhibit C, item 3. So Exhibit 3C, I think so we have received 1.8 million. This is on page 2 of Exhibit 3C.
Oh, okay.
We aren't recognizing it as revenue, we are putting it as a reserve.
Yeah, but here's my point with that. Okay, last year or whatever, we got that 3.4 mil. So we adding on to that this year?
I think we budgeted for 3.4 million this year.
This-
For water supply charge as a reserve.
Okay, again, so what I'm trying to find out, is that gonna be about 700 million? We got 3.4 in there that we, are,
No, it's going to be the same as last year.
so that's gonna be going up.
But if this goes on for 2 years.
Oh, yeah, so if we have saved on to, yes, that reserve is cumulative.
Okay, so that's gonna be a change number that we got put in reserve, okay,
Yes.
all right. You got me clear on that one. So at the end of this fiscal year or at the beginning of next fiscal year, is that number gonna change, that 3.4? Are we gonna get half like we've been doing and half at the end of the year?
Because those revenues come in twice a year, right?
Yes, these revenues for the water supply charge come in twice a year. And so the question, Director Edwards is, I'm sorry, if you could clarify that a little bit better.
I think if I understand correctly, I think what Director Edwards is asking is, does that reserve grow as more
Yes.
revenues, like the second year, if this situation of putting aside the water supply charge revenues goes on more than a year, then the reserve will grow beyond
3.4.
3.4.
Yes.
Right,
The reserves will keep growing.
Is that what you're asking?
yes, you got it right on the head right there.
Yes, we are accumulating the reserves. So any unspent reserves from prior year are on our balance sheet, and any new reserves will just add on to existing reserves from last year.
Okay, but another question for you, and you could check with Dave and them. Should we be adding that number up now? Should that like 1.5 or whatever, 1.2 going to be going in there, or should we just wait until we get it all and then add it to the budget?
Oh, so reserves are set asides.
Okay,
And yeah, we aren't treating that as something that is expensed.
okay. Because if I was the public, I want to know, if I taxpayer, I want to know you're collecting all my money and putting it away from it in case I win. Okay,
Yeah, and I will wait till the results of the litigation come through, and then we'll decide whether to recognize it as revenue, or if not, then we would have to.
I'm gonna come back.
Yes,
All right,
we
thank
have to give those reserves away.
Right, and that, yeah, I have some concern about that issue anyway, and Michael, for benefit of the closed session, I hope we can discuss some of this issue, because I think it's on our future agenda
Yeah.
for that, okay, and for your information too, to discuss it.
All right, I don't have any more questions. Good job.
So we were more questions than you anticipated. Well, let's see, what are
So I
we
don't have
asked?
anything else on this item.
Well, let me just review. So what we're doing is proposing to the full board this mid-year adjustment that includes these items we've discussed. I still think there's a little more explanation. Well, maybe not some more explanation. I've got my explanation. I don't know what the full board needs. That's all I'm trying to say. Maybe to Karen and Alvin. Okay, if there are no further comments on item 4, let's see what the vote says. Is there a motion?
I move that we recommend to adoption of the proposed mid-year budget.
I'll second it.
Adjustment.
I'll jump in ahead of Alvin. I'll second.
All right, good.
Roll call, please.
Director Edwards,
Yes,
Director Paul,
Yes,
Chair Riley.
Hi.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, so as an action agenda, we do, oh no, we just modified, okay, the phrasing on a particular item. Okay, so item 5 is information only. Do we, yes. Is there comments from staff on this? We see this often.
Yes, no comments, Chair. These are just regular informational items
mhm.
for your consideration.
Now, I wasn't on the admin committee, for a few years. It seems to me there was an effort previously, Karen, maybe you remember, but I don't, that there was an effort to work this list of 25K contracts down,
Ah,
get them off the list. It just looks longer and longer and longer. Every time you look at it, it looks like it's longer. And is there a way to update it
Yes,
and remove
and,
some? And-
Chair, we went through that exercise. I think 2 meetings back. We had a 3-page list. We kind of reduced that to 2 pages. I think there were 60 plus 68 items or so, and now we have 47. So we did take quite a few items off.
yes, you did.
Okay, good. My memory isn't as bad as I thought it was. Okay, that was my only comment on this particular report. Contracts over 25,000. Any other comments from committee?
none from me.
None for me.
Okay, and then let's move on to item 6, which is just, it's not a phase 2, 4, 3, 5, 3, 4 spending.
So
Is-
phase 4 is where we,
Yeah,
our
I'm
current
not able
phase.
to. I'm
It's
sorry.
page-
Yes, please go ahead.
I reviewed it and I don't have any questions.
Well, I had a couple of things that just seemed maybe were typos. Maybe that's what the title was all about too. On page 39, the first page of charts,
Mhm.
their title, they both have the same dates of through January 2024. And one was phase 3 and one is phase 4. And I didn't know whether the one below should be 2023.
Mm,
But I didn't know. That was just my,
I think the reasoning might be is if you look at Exhibit 6A, page 1, we're still getting an expense there, that's 606,331. Since we received an invoice in January, we are saying through January 2024 for phase 3. But we can always change it.
well, I'm not sure if it needs to be changed. I'm not sure the title. I just had 2 dates, the same date for 2 different charts. That's
Yeah,
what's
so the first chart is phase 4 spending and the second chart is phase 3 spending. Since we continue to get invoices for phase 3, we are just keeping the dates the same.
Oh, because it's still an active accounting year or,
Yeah,
year for 2023. Okay,
I don't think it's a mistake.
yeah,
yeah.
I thought it was.
If,
Okay, none.
it's just if there had been any spending in 2023, from the phase 3, then it would appear here, right? In
Yeah.
the phase 3 chart, but there wasn't, so.
Well,
So
that goes. that
Go ahead,
goes with
Alvin.
my- That goes with my question about that 23,000. That I asked about.
The
You know,
Lieutenant Tucker,
Yeah, with Rutan and Tucker. Cause they Major J folks, and are we still paying them or are we caught up or whatever? But when you see a check going out in January, I think for $23,000, wonder where we at. And if we cut off, if we cut up, if we caught up enough.
Well, I would suggest we discuss the legal costs as part of our closed session when we discuss the litigation.
That is correct, but just know that the district still is retaining Lieutenant Tucker for their work on the eminent domain action going forward. So they are still providing work product and moving it forward.
Okay, I just want to know if, is that a retainer cost or what? So we can talk about it in closed session.
Yeah, we'll bring a more detailed discussion in closed session for you.
Thank you.
Well, let's make sure we have it listed for the closed session too. Let's go to the
Agenda,
proposed agenda. Yeah. We got two performance evaluation statements plus two litigation questions. And I don't know, at the last time we discussed this, I was particularly interested in having a discussion on, even if it may be short, on the taxpayers lawsuit. And it's not listed here. And I didn't know if there's a possibility we could get a short report on the status of that. As I recall, Laredo Senior was going to make some phone calls, and I'd like to get an update. That's all.
Yeah, we'll add that to the agenda and bring something forward for you, even if it's just a short update.
That's fine, even if it's short. That's good. So let me go to the committee for agenda. Our next agenda on March 18th. Do you have any thoughts about what's listed, not listed? Anything you want to comment on or add something about?
I have no comments on item 7. It's probably outside my purview anyways.
Well,
um,
yeah, I've noticed you changed the surplus items. That's
Yes.
kind of a new phrase. Yeah,
So-
then
when will we be able to look at the annual report? Anybody know?
That's my understanding from the last public outreach committee. That's why it's being brought forward to the board, because the committee has already discussed and is ready.
So it's ready to be sent to the board now? Is that what you?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. Okay. It would be good to have, more than 3 days to review it because it's important. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not very long, but in the past, sometimes it has been.
I think the Public Outreach Committee looked at this,
Right.
didn't it?
Mhm.
Because I remember having some conversation on this, and I'm on that, and that's what I'm thinking. I heard
Right.
it.
Okay.
And they were asking for some edits and some comments and so on. So it has gone through that committee,
Okay, good, good.
but I agree with you, more than 3 days is. But it's a larger report than previous reports,
Ah,
I think, too, by a couple
Okay.
pages. But there are a lot of photographs as well, so I don't know if the writing is longer, but it's more pages.
I'll bring it up with Dave Stoltz and the consultant to see where it's at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
thank you.
great.
Is
Great.
that published or? No.
It's to be published. Yeah, and there's distribution questions as well, and some logo placements and how large it was, and I'm trying to
Mhm.
think of some other questions. And
Okay.
there was some repetition on the cover page as well as the inside page, and they thought
So
we don't
they're
need the
still fine-
repetition. and-
You're still finalizing. it.
Yes,
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
yeah. We'll see it when it's ready.
But they said it'd be ready to go because I listened to the meeting after they had it and it seemed like they were ready to go with it.
Yeah, I think they were just asking for some edits, and because I remember I submitted something a day later.
Yeah.
Okay. For our meeting, do our committee members have any suggestions on anything on a future agenda for this committee?
I have an informational update and I'm not sure if I missed the chance when we were discussing the informational items. Staff is proposing that we bring an item regarding hiring of retired annuitant, Mr. Suresh Prasad, to the board. Now that the 60 days have passed, so we couldn't take any action in the first 60 days, but now we are planning to resurrect that item and bring it back to the board. And that would be for as needed support.
And it did come up to the board to, what do we do? Rescind our earlier resolution in order to make room for a new resolution. And you're talking about the new resolution.
Yes, that would be a new resolution,
Yeah.
yes.
And it'll be on the consent calendar, correct? Because
That
this
would-
draft agenda was published before that information came out.
Okay, good reminder on that.
Yeah, thanks for,
I think that's gonna have to be a action item.
So it'll be a consent item on the consent agenda
Yeah,
for
yeah,
action.
but the last time we did it, they made it an action item itself.
Well, because it needed extensive explanation, I think, because we'd already done something and then we had to undo it. And why are we undoing it? That took more discussion about doing it right.
Right, yeah.
Well, let's put it on the consent and anybody can pull it off if we're a little nervous about it.
Well,
Okay.
here's my question to our CFO. Hey, you done done a good job these first 2 months without him. You came up with the budget. You did mid-year review. What do we need him for now?
I would say, Director Edwards, there's some pieces of institutional knowledge that are with the former CFO, and it would be nice to extract that and put it in our procedures. And there's some GIS stuff. There are computations for the assessor's report that go out in August. So there are some pieces where his background and help would be needed.
we need a knowledge transfer.
A knowledge transfer, yeah.
Oh, okay, but you done done a good job. Up to
Thank you.
now you asking to get a little help. All right, I understand. Good answer.
Sounds good. Nice comment, Alvin. So, no more comments from the committee? Nothing more from staff to keep us on our toes?
I assume the general manager's report will include an update on the Pure Water Monterey. What's happening with that, yeah, so.
Yeah, the recycled water committee is Thursday.
And any operational issues that are arising and, okay.
All right, if there are no other comments, no other questions, going once, going twice, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you, everybody.
I'll go back and see if the PUC is still on.
Did you watch any of it?
Well, I've been listening to it.
They're cross-examining